Now for the final video of this class. What we're going to do is animate this dragon. Now, a bit of a preface. We are taking a really big leap, a big jump from animating the bouncing ball to animating the dragon. There's a lot that would normally have to go on between these two steps that if you're going to a traditional school or an online animation school, it takes a while to go from bouncing ball to the dragon. But the reason why I wanted to jump into the dragon was because I just wanted you guys to get a feel of what it's like to animate a fully rigged character and not just an object. And this is going to be a simple animation, again a bite-sized piece, and we'll just show you how to animate this character, and then you guys can do this animation lesson, and then hopefully you'll be able to start playing around with it on your own, and then you can submit for critiques, for coaching sessions, and that's and then we can have a lot of fun there as well. So this is the file that you should have. We covered this in the last video. This is what it should look like right now. The first thing I want to do is save as. I don't want to overwrite this model or this rig. Let me go to. I saved it in a Red Dragon, a new folder called Red Dragon, and I'm going to call it Let's say we're going to call this jump. So we're going to do just a jump animation. This is going to be very simple. Now, as you can see, there's tons of controls here, right? There's way more controls than what we did on the arm rig of just 2 bones. Here there are many, many bones. And let me actually show you. If we go to wireframe, press 4 on the keyboard, and we show. Actually, it is showing the bones. All right, they're probably hidden deep inside. I won't worry about it. But I'm going to press 6 on the keyboard. Go back to texture. You'll see on the right side here, there's different display layers. Now the rigger has generously already put the geometry or the model in a layer, and that's really good because what I'm going to be doing a lot is I'm going to just drag select over everything to select everything, but I don't because drag select to select everything to save a key, but we never want to save a key on the actual mesh. In fact, I don't know if you can. Oh, you can, but you don't ever want to save a key on the actual mesh. So we don't want to select the mesh when we drag select everything, but since it's in a layer, we can mess with the options here. So you can mess with the visibility, so just the geometry is invisible here. But what I like to do is, and I don't know what this box is called, but it changes the options from T to R or blank. T is, you can see it's sort of like grayed out. R means it's looking just normal, but you can't select it. So this is the one that we want. So now if I drag select everything, it'll select only the controls and not the geometry. All right, one more thing I want to do for setting up the scene is in the 3D viewer, we're going to show. And what we want to do is hide everything except the 2 aspects we're working with, which is NURBS curves and polygons. So I'm going to pop this screen out and let me show none, just to make everything off. Show NURBS curves only and polygons only. And you know what? I want the grid as well. Let's put the grid on. All right. So now we're not selecting anything else except these 2 things, and since polygons is in its own layer here, I will not select the polygon. So now when I drag select everything, it'll only select the controls. All right, let me go ahead and save by pressing Control S. Now this is ready to animate. Let's go ahead and get our animation layout. So if you remember, let's do layouts, 2 panes stacked, and then change the bottom into panel graph editor. So that's good. So this is going to be a simple jump. This is just going to be, this dragon is going to go down and hit a pose, and then jump up, hit a pose, and then come back down, and land, basically. So that's what this dragon is going to be doing. I'm not sure how long I want to make this. Let's make it 24 frames long, and we could change the time later. And the first frame will be 0. We can change the timing later if we need to. All right, so let's just have like a default pose for this dragon. We want it to be balanced. Right now I feel like it's leaning forward too much, so let's just grab the base control, which is called control hips. Is that right? Yeah, that's the one we want. Well, what's this control here then? Hips extra. Okay, you don't want to grab the extra controls. You want to. The extra controls are for like layering animation, so we probably will not be using any of these at all. So just grab the hips control. Let's move her back a little bit. I think it's a girl. I'm going to call it a girl. Let's move her back a little bit so that she is a little bit more balanced on her legs. And we do have these extra limbs with the wings, 2 wings and a tail. We're not going to mess with those. That's just going to be too much detail for this class. But let's put the arms and rotate the arms down. So the arms have, it looks like we have a hand control. We have it's a forearm control. And then we have an upper arm control. And this should be a shoulder control. Yep, and a shoulder. So we have 4 different controls. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to be selecting these a lot. And the arm, normally, a lot of times what happens with rigs is because your elbow can only rotate in one angle, like your wrist can rotate all over, right? If you take your wrist, you can rotate this all over, and same thing with your shoulder. The elbow cannot. It can only go on one axis. So a lot of times what riggers will do is they'll make it so you're unable to rotate in any other axis. It's not done in this case, but we're going to keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and just rotate these. I'm going to grab the shoulder and the upper arm, just these 2. Press E on the keyboard and rotate these down. All I want is for this dragon to be more straight up and down and not have the arms out. So same thing with the other side. Shoulder and upper arm, rotate those down. Again, you press E, the letter E on the keyboard to rotate down. Alright, so this dragon is nice and balanced. I'm going to grab every control and press S on the keyboard to save. So now you see it saved a key on everything. And there's a lot of controls here. This is a lot more complicated than the bouncing ball, as I mentioned. And let's go to the very end on frame 24. Press S on the keyboard again. So now we have. So this will loop properly. It's disappearing for some reason. Oh, that's why. If your character is disappearing when you press play, it's because whatever this box is here in the display layers, this box needs to be set to the letter P. And I think it's like a rendering option, but just set that to the letter P, and then now when you play, you should be able to see it. All right, so this is a nice pose for the starting pose. Now let's do another pose. Let's go to frame 6. So I'm doing this by fourths. So I'm going 0, 6 will be one pose, 12 will be another pose, 18 will be another pose, and 24. Let's see. Yeah. Well, let's just see if that works. We can retime if we need to. So I'm going to grab the base control and just move it. I don't want to move it in the X. I don't want to move it side to side. I just want to move it back and down. Now it's back and down. Let me rotate I need to rotate the body to lean forward. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. I want to grab the spine controls as well. Remember, we don't want like the extra controls. So this is the neck. We might be using that. Here's the chest control. We want that, and we want the spine control. We do not want, we don't need this control here, which is spine extra. So this one and this one. Let's grab both of those, rotate those downward. And now to give some extra oomph to it, let's grab the arms. So I'm going to grab the shoulder and the upper arm, rotate that back on both of these. You know what? I might want to move the character further back because the head's leaning kind of far forward. So get this to a comfortable pose. Maybe she can go down a little further. Okay, so now we see character's going down, and now she needs to jump up. So I'm going to press Control S on the keyboard to save. Anytime I make a change that I like and I want to keep, I'll save it. Control S on the keyboard. Alright, at this point she needs to be jumping up. So in order to have a proper jump, her legs need to be fully extended. So let's have her legs go up as far as they can go. And you know what we can do? This will be fun. So these legs have extra controls on them to help with posing the feet. So the rigger has put in some nice controls here. One of them is called the roll. What's the roll offset? Hold on. I'm just going to decide what this is. Okay. I think I know what this is. So what we want to do is have this dragon sort of like almost from her tippy toes, like at this pose. It's supposed to be an extreme pose. So at her tippy toes, in order to get the tippy toe motion, what we want to do is mess with the roll and the roll offset. So with the roll selected in the channel box, what you'll have to do is in 3D Viewer, middle mouse click and drag left and right. That's what this does. Middle mouse click and drag left and right to get this roll. So it looks like I want to do it before she starts putting her toes up. I just want her heel coming up. So something like that. And in order to get more of an exaggeration, mess with the roll offset. It looks like, oh no, I think that's fine. Let's not mess with the roll offset. Let's just mess with the roll. Do that on both sides. So there you go. She's got that extra tippy toe motion. I'm going to rotate her hips backwards. A lot of times this control is called the center control or the center of gravity or COG. And in this case, the rigger calls it just calls it the hip control. What is this? Oh, it's just extra overlap. We will not be messing with that. So two more things I want to do here is let's rotate the arms forward. In fact, I might want to exaggerate this by selecting the chest, rotating the chest backward, because I want to give this pose a nice extreme feel. So again, the upper arm of the right, the upper arm and the shoulder of the right arm, and then we also want to have the head looking up. So I'm grabbing this control? This is the head control and the neck 2 control. So head control and neck 2. Rotate those backward. Now it almost looks like she's leaning too far back. So hold on, let's figure out this. I want her to be like going straight up. Alright, I think that'll work. So again, just posing this out. Let's have the arms go up even more. Okay, so select everything and save a key, S on the keyboard. You know, it looks like there's some keys that weren't saved on frame 6. Let me just make sure that nothing weird is happening. So at frame 6, I could see there's some keys that weren't saved because you see like these lines here. Hold on, let me be able to select the curve. These lines here don't have a key on it. So if I press S on the keyboard, you'll see the keys show up. I'm just making sure that nothing weird happened. And it looks like the feet, the roll control wasn't zeroed out on this. Let me make sure this is zeroed out on the roll. Okay, that's better. So far we have it going, starting at a default, rotating backwards for a pose, rotating upward for a jumping pose, and this point she needs to, let's do her up in the air. I don't know however far up you'd like her to go. Let's have the legs follow. So grab these two legs, at W to translate, and move these legs up. And I'm going to rotate them as well, just to make them look cooler. Let's have her kind of show some knee action, bending the knee. And then with her up here, up at this extreme top pose, I'm going to rotate her chest back a little bit more to be a little more relaxed. And at this point, I'd like to rotate the elbows as well. So just in the Y rotation, I'm going to rotate the elbows in and then pose the arm. Something we might like here. Okay, let's keep going. I'm wondering if, okay, you know, it's a nice animation principle is to not have everything so symmetrical. So I'm going to pick one of these legs and have them go higher than the other, and maybe in a little bit different position. So it looks a little bit breaking up the symmetry. So I see here we're creating the extreme poses. I'm going to save the scene, Control S. We're creating the extreme poses, but we can see that there's going to need to be some in-between work done between these two keyframes on 6 and 12, because it doesn't really look like she's jumping very well. That's okay, because we're just worried about the extremes. So it looks like I'm going to want to add some more frames to this. Let's make it 30 frames long, because I don't want it to end on, I don't want jumping up. And what I want her to do is when she lands, she sort of overshoots, so her hips go down further, and then settles back to the default. I'll show you what I mean by that. Save a key on 24. Let's make sure every one of these points has a key saved on all the controls. So I have everything selected, 0, save a key, 6, save a key, 12, save a key, 18, save a key, 24, save a key. Since the 24 is the default, I'm going to move this out to the end of the shot now, which is frame 30. So let's move that all the way to 30. And frame 24 is going to need to be the exact same. You know, I probably didn't need to move it out, but let me, here's what I want to do. Hold on, I'm undoing all that. Let's save it with 24 having the default pose. Let's go to frame 30 and save a key, so that way it's saving this exact same pose. And 24 is where we want the overshoot to happen. So at this point, just the hips are going to go down a little bit, not as far as before, but just a little bit. And she's going to sort of lean forward a little bit to have it show she's sort of trying to brace the impact. And maybe this arm goes back a little bit. Again, not as far as before. This arm goes back a little bit. And let's have this bent a little bit. The elbow bent a little bit. Let's see. Okay, that's cool. Alright, I wonder if this would look nicer if she came down further. But the thing is, it starts to break the legs. You know what? We can make this look way nicer. Ah, yes. Okay, let's move the hips down even further. I think she needs to show a stronger pose here. Let's have her go way down. And then in order to fix the crashing happening here with the geometry, crashing into itself, let's grab it looks like the ankle control. Let's grab the ankle control and move that back. And since we have auto key turned on, which is the bottom right here, you see auto key turned on, it's saving a key for this. Every time I just move a control, it's saving a key. Okay, let's just press play and we'll save first. And then let's press play. By the way, when I press save, Control S, you'll see it's being saved by student version of Maya. That's because when we downloaded the software, we downloaded the student version, and it's just saying you can't use this for production purposes. You're not allowed to make money off of this. Okay, cool. So that's looking pretty nifty. It's been a simple jump so far. Let's mess with the timing on this. So what I want to do is, remember with the bouncing ball, we had the ball stay up longer and then drop faster? Let's try to have that same type of feel here. So I want her to stay up longer. So at frame 18 is the extreme pose of her being up in the air. Let's go one frame over. Again, one frame over, which in this case is 19. Press S on the keyboard. So I'm saving all these values at this point, and then I'm going to draw those out. So select all these keys. Make sure that you're framed. You're framed into the graph editor by pressing F on the keyboard. And select all these keys, and let's press W on the keyboard to translate. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move them over. Okay, we're going to move these keys over. But you have to press W on the keyboard to translate, then hold down the Shift button, and middle mouse click, and then drag it over. The reason why we're doing middle mouse Shift is so that it stays on the line. If we don't hold down Shift, then we can move it all over the place like this, and then it gets really out of hand. I'm going to press Z to undo. So if we hold down Shift and middle click and then move it over, then it'll just keep it on that line. Let's move it over 2, I guess, 2 frames. It looks like I didn't have something selected, maybe. I'm pressing Z to undo all the way before I set all the keys. So you can see here there's something weird with the leg. Alright, let's try this again. Select everything. That's right. Okay. So I select everything, grab the keys, and move them over by pressing Shift and middle mouse click, or pressing W, just tapping W to go to translation mode, selecting keys, and then Shift and middle click to the right. Not bad, but I think the landing is happening a little too fast. So let's grab these keys on frame 24. Again, press W for translation, Shift, middle mouse click. Let's go over one frame. One frame can make a big difference a lot of times. Remember me I like that, so I'm gonna press Control S to save. Remember that I wanted to work with these in-betweens. So what's happening is the arms are going back in a nice pose. And then in order to get to this pose of her sort of jumping up, her arms don't really swing downward. It just goes straight from back to up, and I think it's be more realistic if the arms swing downward. So let's go to let's say frame 9, and let's adjust these arms so that they're more of a circular motion. So let's have this swing downward. Downward. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think that's way better. Alright, I think there's going to be one more thing I'd like to do. Let me press Control S on the keyboard to save. I save all the time if you don't already notice. I'm going to select everything, and I feel what's happening is going down nicely, jumping to the extreme nicely. I feel like between this pose, frame 12 and frame 18, there's a lot of too much space, too much time. So what I want to do is select all these keys after, and I'm going to move them earlier to sort of tighten up that spacing. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember, I have everything selected, all the controls selected. I went into Graph Editor, press F to frame everything, and let's select all the keys after frame 12. Press W for translation, and then Shift middle click. Move those over, let's say 2 frames. Let's see. That might help. That's a little better. Another thing we could do, let me undo out of that. Another thing we could do to make this timing look nicer is, and this might be easier, let's go to frame. What I'm going to want to do is take these values and move them over, like we did with, again, the idea of just she's staying up in the air a little longer and then landing faster. So what I'm doing is I'm picking some values. I'm going to go to frame 16 and save a key. S on the keyboard. Select all these keys and move them one frame earlier. So that's going to make it look a little more snappy as well. And I think that's an easy solution. That's nice. I think that works. What do you think? So I think that's going to do it for this one. That's a nice little jump animation, and there's a lot we can do. Obviously, and I'll save this. There's a lot we can do to make this polish this and offset the animations, add the tail, even put facial expression in it, and all that kind of good stuff. But this is very very basic jump that we can be happy with, that I think works. So that's going to be it for this this video and this class. I'd love to know what you guys think about this whole series, and could potentially do more series. I'd love to see you guys in the Twitch channel. Go ahead and send me, if you guys want some coaching sessions, go ahead and send me your jump file or any other animation that you do, and we can talk about it and talk about how to make it even better and all that good stuff. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me through all these videos. And yeah, keep in touch. Follow me on Twitter, on Twitch, and if you can even give me a shout in the War Dragons game for those who play it. All right. Well, thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you later.